Chapter 31, Mana Lord, Governor. Chen Xiang had successfully refined 3 baptizing marrow dans and placed them in his mouth, then immediately started to operate the Tai Chi divine exercise while assimilating the potency of the pills. He also started to absorb the 5 elements of Qi in between the heaven and earth. Furthermore, he also casted the dragon saliva exercise, while creating the accelerating growth catalyst for the spirit herb in the due process, the dragon saliva. The next morning, the sun had just started to rise and King City was already very noisy. The Dangxiang River Manor news had already been spread among the whole city. This was just a small issue, and as long as nobody was killed, it was just a simple matter for the governor. But yesterday, his own son was beaten. If the governor wasn't going to intervene, then he would become a laughingstock to everyone. Therefore, the entrance of Chen Luzong's store was already surrounded by many guards. On the avenue, 2 luxurious horse carriages were respectively driving directly towards the store. These luxurious horse carriages stopped just before the entrance of the store. There were many guards around the carriages, but only one carriage belonged to the Dangxiang River Manor, whereas the others belonged to the governor. Both parties were here for the same purpose, and that was to find Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang was still training in his room, but with his keen senses, he was able to hear the commotion at the entrance. He immediately woke up and carefully listened to the voices. Mana Lord Hua, I did not expect that you would personally come here regarding my son's issue. I know my son has really caused trouble for you, but please do forgive him. From the black horse carriage, only a man's voice could be heard, and this voice belonged to the famous governor of the king city of the Southern Martial Empire, Huigaoan. Well, your son this time brought a lot of troubles for the Dangxiang River Manor. I didn't come here for him. I came because I couldn't sit idly and do nothing while someone has come to trouble my Dangxiang River Manor. A sliver of anger could be felt in this beautiful voice. Chen Xiang couldn't help but be surprised. Dangxiang River Manor's lord turned out to be a girl. After tidying himself, Chen Xiang left his room through the backyard and entered the store inside, where Chen Luzong was already present. Granduncle, how come you didn't hide this time? Chen Xiang asked in a whisper. Meanwhile, he heard a knock. Shouldn't I worry about you, brat? The governor and manor lord are not people you can mess with. After opening the door, Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong saw the bold and powerful soldiers standing outside. Of course, the most striking were the 2 horse carriages. What do you want? Chen Luzong asked while laughing. From the 2 carriages inside, 2 people got down. The one with the robust body was the governor. He had a very small beard on his middle-aged face, wearing a golden robe and adorned with shiny gold ornaments. The other was Dangxiang River Manor's lord, a girl with a graceful figure and a gentle smile, wearing a blue skirt, face covered with a white muslin, revealing a pair of youthful and pretty eyes. When she saw Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong, those clear like water eyes suddenly glittered with a slight shimmer. Was it you who injured my son? Huigaoan swept past Chen Xiang with his 2 eyes as he asked. Yes. On Chen Xiang's face there was no fear. Although he was facing 2 noble figures of King City, he was still very calm. He could see that Huigaoan's strength had reached the 8th level of mortal martial realm. He was not only fearless, but also wanted to have a contest with him. At this time, a group of people from the crowd rushed out and pointed at Chen Xiang as they cursed, and it was evidently clear from their covered body in gauzes. These people were the bodyguards wounded by Chen Xiang at the manor. Manor Lord, this is the guy who rushed into our Dangxiang River Manor and wounded us and the shopkeeper. One bodyguard, while grimacing in pain, said. Huigaoan coldly smiled, then turned to the manor lord and said, now that it is confirmed, Manor Lord Hua, how do you say we dispose of him? The next words of Manor Lord Hua made surprised everyone. The partakers who damaged this store are hereby expelled from the Dangxiang River Manor. Although the young master indeed caused trouble with our manor, but it was all because we Dangxiang River Manor's people were wrong earlier, therefore we are not investigating. Huiyuan, take this opportunity to apologize to the young master, and also, the Dangxiang River Manor will compensate for the young master's losses. Dangxiang River Manor's lord went as far as to apologize to a person. Huigaoan was not the only one who was shocked. Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong were also puzzled, but their impression of the manor lord had improved at this time. As Su Meiyao had said, this Dangxiang River Manor's lord is indeed a person with a clear distinction between right and wrong. Although Manor Lord will let you off, I will not do the same. Catch him. This person caused trouble in King City and injured many people. Be sure to deal with him ruthlessly. Huigaoan was not as easy as soft and gentle woman. Huiyuan slightly sighed and said, Governor Hua, these 2 present before your eyes are alchemists. Are you really going to make enemy with alchemists? Huigaoan was shocked. as well as those bodyguards and the soldiers too. That young man and the old man before their eyes were alchemists. It should be known the identity of alchemists were very rare in the Southern Martial Empire, particularly the old alchemist. They were generally in a formidable family at a very high position and garnering respect. How would he appear here and moreover in such a poor condition? Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong from the start never said a word. They calmly stood there, fearlessly. Chen Luzong said, "Governor Hua, this old man had bought this store many years before. Your son wanted to buy this from my hands, but I did not sell it, so he took advantage of my absence and brought people to destroy it. If you don't believe me, you can go in and take a look." "Mister, you should be the Hall Lord of Wo's City Spirit Dan Hall, and this young master must be the famous genius of the Chen family." Chen family genius? Was he not the one who trounced against both the Yao family genius and elder? Famous throughout the whole Southern Martial Empire, Chen Xiang, he actually came to King City. Moreover, together with Spirit Dan Hall's lord. Everyone had long known that Spirit Dan Hall's lord was treated as anti and lost to the Chen family. "Now, I am not a Hall Lord, just an old servant of this brat." Chen Luzong laughed, but his words scared the hell out of everybody. Spirit Dan Hall's lord was a relatively well-known figure in Southern Martial Empire and had now become a mere servant of someone. If they didn't hear this from his own mouth, people would never believe it. Huagao's eyebrows were continuously moving up and down. The other two were alchemists and he didn't think that his own idiot son would have a dispute with alchemists. That's definitely not a wise move. Chen Xiang looked at Huagaoan and coldly said, "Governor Hua, your son tried to seize our Chen family property. If it would have been someone else, I would have definitely slain him. You should know if one's family property is threatened, it is a very serious issue." Chen Xiang's words were filled with slaughter key. The majority of the crowd couldn't help but have shivers run down their spines. The Chen family wasn't a martial artists, aristocratic family inside King City, but they still had inheritance from many years back. Their profound heritage still could not be overlooked. Huagaoan wrinkled his brows, his face filled with anger, yet he couldn't even attack. If he did so, he would have to consider the retaliation from the Chen family. Although his and the Yao family relationship was pretty good, it was only a relationship for mutual benefits. "Let's go!" Huagaoan coldly shouted. He swallowed down the anger inside his heart and embarked on his carriage to leave. Chapter 32. Sex Disciple. Huayuan commanded some people to enter the store and estimate the damages, then said to Chen Xiang, "If the two of you have some time, you can always come to Defying Rival Manor as guests. We'll always welcome you too." After Huayuan departed, Chen Luzong held his waist and said while smiling, "You think this woman is interesting, right?" Chen Xiang whispered while his shining eyes were looking at the distant carriage. "This woman's schemes are very deep. I sense that she wants to win us over." "You're overthinking. Despite being a woman, she could still govern such a large pale force. She had long been accustomed to gnawing the bones till nothing was left. Why would she need to use any underhanded means to win us over?" 5 days quickly passed. This store was brand new and was all done at no cost. Defying Rival Manor had sent people to repair it, and as long as there were enough pills and alchemists, this store would soon be open. Chen Xiang came to King City for 2 purposes. One was to start the pill store, and other was to participate in the martial arts tournament of King City. King City's martial arts tournament had already begun accepting registrations. Although there were more than 2 months before it started, Chen Xiang had went to sign up early. Chen Xiang had also learned some information along the way. Sex Disciple would indeed appear at the tournament, but they weren't going to participate in it. Rather, they were just here to observe. For several days, Chen Xiang and Chen Luzong were very busy refining pills. In order for the business to run smoothly, they had to refine a large number of pills. "Granduncle, with just the two of us refining pills, this is not the way to go. I don't know if we'll be able to continue like this." Chen Xiang had just refined a baptizing marrow dan, but the herbs he had to buy were from the Defying Rival Manor. "Young man, you think it is so easy to open up a store? If we don't have at least 5 alchemists, it'll be difficult to sustain. Even after opening the store, we'd have to wait for the customers to come and buy. As I see it, it'll take at least 2 to 3 years before we can run smoothly." Chen Luzong's reply made Chen Xiang stamp his feet anxiously. He couldn't wait for so long. In order to attract alchemists, he could only use some precious spirit herbs. Chen Xiang had planned to ripen a batch of herbs, so he immediately left the alchemy room, but when he arrived inside the store, he saw several people standing inside. These people were 1 old man and 4 handsome teenagers. The breath released from their bodies were very pure, which gave people a strange feeling. This kind of purest true qi couldn't be cultivated out in the mortal world. "You are, Humph. You are Chen Xing? That white-haired old man shouted, his face both mighty and angry, and also those 4 teenagers had put on a high and mighty act while looking at Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang frowned, clenching his fist and said coldly, "Right. Are you here to make trouble?" At this time Chen Luzong also came out. When he saw that old man he also froze for a moment, his body still trembling. Apparently he was very afraid of this old man. You are. Chen Luzong was speechless. He actually knew this old man. That old man spoke, "Right. I am Chen Thuong. 50 years ago, I left the Chen family and entered a martial arts sect, and this time I came back to recruit some sect disciples, but I heard some bad news." Chen Xiang was shocked inside his heart. This person responsible for recruiting sect disciple unexpectedly was one of the Chen family elders, but this elder seemed to be somewhat discontented with him. "You dare to be enemies with the Yao family? You should know when I was inside the martial arts sect, the Yao family members helped me a lot." Chen Thuong glared at Chen Xiang. Simultaneously, he released true ki pressing towards Chen Xiang, which made Chen Xiang suddenly feel as if his body weighed 10,000 jin. TLN, jin equals Chinese measurement of weight, 1 jin equals 500 grams. Astonishment from Chen Luzong's face had faded away and was replaced with coldness. He is the Chen family's once in 1,000 years born rare good seedling, but you embarrass him for your own selfish reason. This reason alone is enough for you not to have any qualification to be a member of the Chen family. When Chen Thuong heard this statement, he restrained his breath, and looked at Chen Luzong to determine his power level. As he was unable to see his power level, he contemptuously said, "What good seed? This little devil just casually grab anyone inside my sect and they will be much stronger than him. My 4 apprentices behind me will be able to win very easily against him." Just as Chen Thuong's last words fell, Chen Xiang's stature moved similar to lightning. Azure auras started to surge into his fist, with flashing lightning aura and carrying vigorous and tyrannical lightning power, struck towards the teenager. This sudden fierce attack left that teenager simply no time to dodge. His chest was ruthlessly hit by Chen Xiang's fist. Blood spilled from his mouth and was forced to retreat couple of steps before coming to a stop. "Just so," Chen Xiang faintly said. He completely saw through Chen Thuong. He now knew that the Chen family elder had no loyalty towards the Chen family. In order to befriend the Yao family, he was even dealing with his own clansmen. Chen Xiang's sudden action made Chen Thuong unceasingly shocked and angry. He had only heard of Chen Xiang's strength but never witnessed it. But now it seems it was indeed amazing, even capable of slightly injuring a martial arts sect disciple. "This is the strength of a martial arts sect disciple?" Chen Xiang said in contempt while glancing at the 4 teenagers, which in turn made the 4 teenager extremely furious. "If you did not sneak attack me, you wouldn't even be able to touch me," the teenager while wiping his blood-stained mouth angrily retorted. "So how about we have a little fight?" Chen Xiang knitted his fists, while on his face the intention to fight could be seen. "Let's fight." The teenager's heart was filled with anger. Only by fighting would he be able to vent his anger that resided in his heart. Chen Thuong did not try to stop them. He retreated to one side blankly. This left a little space open. At this time, the teenager and Chen Xiang both rushed towards each other. The teenager's steps were very light. It was similar to superficially treading only using the tip of the toes. Not only was it fast, but he carried himself with a strong momentum. Mortal Martial Realm Level 6. Chen Xiang judged the teenager's strength immediately. The teenager saw Chen Xiang motionlessly standing there, his whole body full of openings. When he saw Chen Xiang trying to guard from his steps, he was secretly proud of himself. He leapt into the sky. Both his feet continuously sent out flying kicks. Suddenly, after images were overflowing from the top of the sky and surged towards Chen Xiang, vigorous true ki shook the air with a loud noise. Obviously this teenager's kicking method was impressive. Chen Xiang didn't imagine this kind of attack, and at that moment, he simply couldn't escape the countless leg shadows. He didn't think this little weak-looking teenager would know such an overbearing kicking technique. Dang dang dang. Chen Xiang's body in a blink of an eye flew and kicked dozens of times. Afterwards, he fell on top of a wooden table which destroyed it immediately. "Humph, you are also just so," the teenager said in disdain. Just as he finished, Chen Xiang jumped into the sky and stood straight, beating his clothes like nothing ever happened. The teenagers as well as Chen Thuong were completely astonished. "I truly kicked your body a moment ago, but how can you afford to withstand my powerful true ki? I had at least kicked your body 10 or so times. On each kick I poured very powerful true ki," that teenager with a serious complexion said. Only few people among the same level were capable of remaining safely unharmed under his kicking method. Chen Xiang lightly smiled and said, that move of yours was really good, but it was still average." While speaking, Chen Xiang dashed towards the teenager and with his fists, strikes similar to giant axe-cutting mountains, were continuously struck out. Every fist strike had momentum similar to a giant river's flow, bursting out a flurry of explosions. Each fist transformed into ferocious tiger hands, shocking the air, as if ferocious tigers were roaring in anger. Uninterrupted and quick, Chen Xiang's fist made countless after-images similar to violent storms striking towards the teenage. The reaction of the teenager was very quick. One revolved around his body before it was covered in a layer of golden brilliance, which was metal attribute True Key, and he released a True Key cover to protect himself. Chapter 33, Hu Yui Yun. The teenager's True Key shield was also very intrepid, as it was even able to withstand Chen Xiang's crazy lightning fist strikes. Even so, Chen Xiang still didn't pay any attention to it. Suddenly a trace of fiery red key started to mix with his green True Key. Till now Chen Xiang was only using wood-attributed Azure Dragon True Key, but now he started to add fire-attributed Zuki True Key. As both True Key fused and superimposed on each other, their combined might was more than just double. Chen Thuong's pupils contracted as Chen Xiang's True Key color changed because one person possessing two types of True Key was rarely seen. The golden True Key shield covering the teenager's body slightly vibrated before Chen Xiang's fists shook as from True Key shield. Chen Xiang's fist, with an explosive roar, suddenly gushed out scorching hot flames with lightning blowing inside the flames. An all-around powerful and oppressive aura-like wave violently surged, completely shaking everything. Chen Xiang's fists bombarded again while lightning and fire were flashing inside. Hong hong hong. Chen Xiang's fists were quick as always. In a blink of an eye, tens of fists struck on the teenager's golden True Key shield, sending out thunderous roars, loudly shaking the ground, and soon after, spreading to the whole pavilion in all four directions. With madness, continuously striking out fist while bursting continuous roars. Watching this level of crazy attack, Chen Luzong, Chen Thuong, as well as those teenagers watching were in awe. They did not think that the young Chen Xiang's True Key was vigorous to this degree, madly able to cast out such fierce True Key attacks. The golden key shield covering the teenager's body covered already started to dim down. He was beaten back by Chen Xiang, and his body was numbing in pain as his golden True Key shield was shaken by Chen Xiang's crazy fist strength. "Break!" Chen Xiang heavily shouted. While jumping, on his fists lightning and fire burst out as they struck towards the teenager's body like a meteor. Directly breaking the teenager's golden key, the teenager flew out and crashed through the wall, falling on the avenue outside as a mouthful of blood surged out before he fainted. Chen Xiang's gaze swept past the other teenagers and coldly shouted, "Would you also like to come?" The three teenagers couldn't even speak. At this time, they were unable to calm down. Fear was clearly visible on their face. The level of slaughter key emitted by Chen Xiang was similar to a great general who was perennially engaged in slaughtering. "Let's go!" Chen Thuong was speechless. Chen Xiang's strength also made him deeply shocked. He could see Chen Xiang's martial skill was very strong and frightening. "Wait, he is one of the big sect's disciple. Although we exchanged some pointers, as I was not careful and wounded him, I have to heal him to avoid the jealousy and hatred of the sect." Immediately after Chen Xiang took out an alchemy furnace, he sat down cross-legged while taking out some spared herbs from his storage pouch. Chen Xiang actually wanted to refine a pill. "Certainly you can directly heal him. Why bother?" Chen Thuong impassively said. Chen Xiang while sneering said, "You can try and see if ordinary pills will heal him. He was injured by my fire and lighting True Key. If he doesn't have the corresponding pill, his wounds will have a hard time healing." After speaking, Chen Xiang began to pour flames inside the furnace. Meanwhile Chen Thuong carried the teenager from the avenue. He determined that the teenager was seriously injured as he probed the wounds. Moreover, lighting and fire key had entered the body from the wounds, and these lighting and fire were not common lightning and fire. Half an hour passed. Chen Thuong and his apprentices had been silent, patiently waiting, and they also wanted to take a look at Chen Xiang's alchemy technique. Chen Xiang opened the furnace lid while a pill aroma wafted out. It only took half an hour to refine the healing pill. This was too damn fast. This made Chen Thuong and the three teenagers extremely scared. "This is a great rejuvenating Dan, middle-grade mortal-level Dan." Chen Xiang handed out a pink Dan to Chen Thuong. He did this so that the Chen family senior wouldn't hate him, as well as change Chen Thuong's opinion about him. Middle-grade mortal-level Dan. Chen Xiang only took half an hour to refine it. As Chen Thuong received the Dan, he immediately determined that it was genuine. At this time, he had to admit that Chen Xiang was someone with an immeasurable future. "Do you want to start a business by selling dans?" Here, There is not only the Dangxiang herbal manor, but also the Yao family. With just the two of you refining pills, this store will surely fail. This idea is simply too naive. I will make the Chen family stop you. This is simply a waste of money. Chen Xiang, here is a tip. It is best if you go and apologize to the Yao family. Chen Firong, after dropping this sentence, left with the teenagers. With Chen Firong gone, Chen Luzong said with a sigh, this guy has always been very selfish, therefore he left the Chen family a long time ago. I simply did not imagine that he would have received the Yao family's grace and actually came here to deal with his own clan member. If your grandfather was here, he would have punished him. Chen Xiang asked as he cleaned the floor. Granduncle, great sect's disciple, all have this level of strength? Chen Luzong shook his head and said, they are just outer sect disciples. If it would have been an inner sect disciple or a true disciple, then you would simply have no chance of winning. Chen Firong should have a relatively high position among outer sect's disciple. Chen Xiang was shocked. He had estimated that Chen Firong's strength was at least at the 9th level of mortal martial realm, and he was only an outer sect disciple. Then what is the level of inner sect and true disciples? I have to go look and hire some alchemists. Chen Xiang said he already had some plans about how to proceed. Most of the alchemists inside the King City have already joined other forces. In order to find some will be somewhat difficult. Chen Luzong sighed because alchemists were very rare and so many forces fought over them. Chen Xiang said while he rolled his eyes, I have to go to Dangxiang herbal manor. I'll look for that woman to discuss about some business. Soon after Chen Xiang put down the broom, he ran out of the store towards the biggest Dangxiang herbal manor located in the central region of the King City. This was also the headquarters of all the Dangxiang herbal manor located in King City. The Dangxiang herbal manor headquarters was a giant manor. Chen Xiang entered inside while indicating his identity. Immediately after, he was received with warm welcome. One maid took him through many halls and courtyards inside the manor, eventually coming to a colorful and gorgeous garden, and amidst the garden was a small house. The aroma wafting from the flower beds made Chen Xiang feel somewhat refreshed. Then from inside the house, came an enchanting and gentle voice. Young Master Chen, please come in. I knew you would come visit. An attractive laughter sounded out and Huiyuyan words slightly stunned Chen Xiang. In his heart, he subtly cursed Vixen, then pulled himself together and walked forward. Chen Xiang came to a small hall full of exquisite aroma. Inside the hut he saw an enchanting woman with a graceful posture and beautiful appearance was preparing some tea leaves. Previously, Huiyuyan had covered her face with a veil so Chen Xiang wasn't able to see her face. But now that he saw, it was much more beautiful than he had imagined. But this time, she was wearing a white transparent gauze skirt. You could partly see her jade lotus-like arms, as well as her sultry and slender legs. Her pretty waist was visible through her thin veil, as well as her milk-white ample bosom with a deep ravine. This was but naked temptation. If Chen Xiang didn't have extremely good control over his mind against stunning beauties, he probably would have already been under their control. This left him puzzled about why such a stunning figure was here. Chapter 34. Temptation. Huiyuyan's little red mouth was slightly stretched before she took a sip of the petal tea. Seemingly speechless and enchanted, with a sweet smile hanging on her face, she said to Chen Xiang, young master, what say we get down to business over a cup of tea? Chen Xiang touched his nose. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed, because he just had a martial art contest with someone. Moreover, he had also refined a set of herbs of the great rejuvenating Dan, so he was more or less covered in sweat and dressed very sloppy. He smiled and said, Madam Lord Hua, compared to the beauties outside, you are much more beautiful, and I just do not understand why would Manor Lord Hua be so warm towards me. This passion truly made me feel very hot. Finished speaking, Chen Xiang cursed Yao Jing in his heart. Soon after, a fire secretly started burning in his lower abdomen. TLN, Yao Jing equals alluring woman or evil spirit who is enchanting and beautiful. Although on the surface, he was calm, he was actually very restless in his heart. He had seen Ba Yao and Su Mei Yao's jade-like body before, and also had intimate contacts with the little fairy-like soft refined dust, Zhu Xiangxian. Moreover, he had also seen the remarkably graceful Empress of the Divine Weapon Heavenly Empire. He had to admit that the Huiyuyan in front of him was indeed like lilies and roses, and that her appearance was comparable to the several beauties he had seen. TLN, soft refined dust. I just translate it as written, but in Chinese it is used to describe a woman in elegant way who is pure and not tainted by any other worldly things. Not that kind which you are thinking, more in good way. Young master already has Su Xiangxian, that talented little fairy. How could you think highly of this little miss? Huiyuan pretended to be self-deprecating, and on her pretty face a trace of envy was visible. Chen Xiang no longer excessively looked at this beautiful woman. He drank a cup of petal tea and said, "Madam Lord Hua, let's get to the point. I want to dispose of 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass, and I think that Madam Lord Hua should give me a satisfactory price." When Huiyuan heard this, she no longer sexually harassed this innocent young boy. She sat down and poured him more tea and said, "You caught me by surprise. This is 1,000-year blood spirit grass, and you are an alchemist. Is it that you don't know how precious it is? If young master is short on money, then this little miss can lend you some first." Chen Xiang was surprised in his heart. He wasn't clear about why he got her favor. How was he able to make such a mature, stunning beauty act so intimately with him, even lend him some money? This woman's schemes are very heavy. I have to be careful. Chen Xiang fully realized that the truth was anything but gallant. "No, I don't want to owe anybody. If Madam Lord Hua is not willing, then I will find someone else." Chen Xiang stood up. He did not want to get enticed by this woman again. After all, this was not good for him. Huiyuan sighed lightly, sipped the tea while looking dejected, faintly said, "While in the eyes of others I'm a superior manor lord, but my real identity is nothing but a maidservant of the Dangxiang Taiyuan. Just because I was comparatively more beautiful and a little clever, I was sent here to assume control of the Dangxiang Rival Manor." So this girl, as beautiful as a heavenly immortal, was just a maidservant. For Chen Xiang it was implausible. "Young Master Chen, you are but a rare genius. Whether it is strength or alchemy, both are inherent. Even in martial arts sex, it would be very difficult to find someone like you. I want to say openly, I want to pull you into the Dangxiang Taiyuan. That way I can obtain rewards from the Dangxiang Taiyuan, and you can leave this damn place with meager spirit key." Huiyuan grumbled tenderly and pitifully, looking at Chen Xiang. One martial arts sect recruiting a good seedling. For a sect, that was a good thing, but Chen Xiang felt somewhat uncertain. "You mean, after you enroll me into the Dangxiang Taiyuan, you will gain some benefits? You do not look like a maidservant. I sense your strength to be at least at 8th level of mortal martial realm." Huiyuan was slightly taken back. "Young Master Chen has good eyes. To tell you the truth, after entering the Dangxiang Taiyuan, I'll only get the reward once you become a true disciple, because many geniuses are unable to enter the true martial realm. I've personally seen many of those geniuses," Chen Xiang said with a smirk. "You have been fooling a lot of people." Huiyuan pouted her little mouth. "I've never lied to them, which is why they voluntarily went to the Dangxiang Taiyuan. Moreover, it was not harmful for them." Chen Xiang shook his head and said, "I do not want to enter the Dangxiang Taiyuan. I want to enter the extreme martial sect." Huiyuan said with contempt. "Extreme martial sect? Young Master Chen, you know, amongst the 8 major faction, the extreme martial sect is the most difficult to enter. Extreme martial sect, no matter how talented you are, as long you cannot pass through their tests, you will be rejected from the gate." Chen Xiang's gaze became sharp, said, "This is challenging." Huiyuan wrinkled her nose and with an angry hump said, "Fool, you've me leading you into the Dangxiang Taiyuan and you don't want to enter. You're hell-bent going into that bloody extreme martial sect. You're going to regret it later." "Regretting is still my issue. Thanks from Madam Lord Who is concerned." Chen Xiang slightly smiled to her. Huiyuan nibbled her red lip, looking at Chen Xiang with resentment. She murmured, "Don't call me something like Madam Lord Hua. I'm just a maidservant. I cannot stand this title. Since you know who I am, don't be so flattering. Just call me Yuyan, or I will not sell any dens to your Chen family." Just a moment ago, she could eternally enthrall someone with her peerless charm, and now, she turned into an angry little girl, which made Chen Xiang laugh involuntarily. "Yuyan, now can we talk about that 1,000-year-old blood spirit grass?" Yuyan drank 2 cups of tea, and after dispersing the anger in her heart, she said, "Chen Xiang, since you insist on selling, I'll not urge you. You're really a fool. Not only do you want to sell this precious spirit herb, but you also want to reject my invitation to enter the Dangxiang Taiyuan Zhujiangxian, this heavenly pampered daughter. What does she fancy an idiot like you?" Speaking of which, Huiyuan's pretty face full of anger had a totally different kind of charm. Looking at her, Chen Xiang secretly admired her in his heart. If Huiyuan came to know about this, she would certainly fly into a rage. "If you are in urgent need of money, if you want, I can lend you some. Although I'm just a maidservant, I have a lot of spirit coins and I can also freely mobilize spirit coins of the Dangxiang Rival Manor." "Woman, You're getting really long-winded. Give me a price. I don't want to owe you, said Chen Xiang while curling his lips. Hu Yuyan spat and said, 400,000 spirit coins. Chen Xiang was satisfied with this price. He nodded and said, and I would also like to buy some of the spirit herbs. Chen Xiang took out a list as well as the 1,000-year blood spirit grass. Hu Yuyan sighed after taking the 1,000-year blood spirit grass. If you enter the Dangxiang Taiyuan and become a true disciple, I can be your maidservant. At that time I will be yours forever. Chen Xiang's eyebrows rose. That was a very big temptation, but he refused. Jiangxian, this little girl will be jealous. Hu Yuyan stuck her tongue out and said, talking to this fool is like talking to a dead person. Wait for my return. Looking at that writhing charming waist of Hu Yuyan as she left, Chen Xiang let out a deep breath. This time Su Meiyao laughingly said, this is a formidable little Yaojing. If she is capable of making you a true disciple, that is indeed a very good thing. You should know that inside those martial arts sects, a true disciple's status is very high. Why? Bai Yao said, simple. Because true disciples are in or above true martial realm. Although those martial sects are very big and have numerous disciples, true disciples are not many, and true disciples basically represent the strength of the whole sect. Chapter 35. Metal Spirit Fruit. At this point, Chen Xian wanted more and more to experience what it felt like to be in a sect. But, even those who were in the 8th and 9th level of the mortal martial realm were only outer sect's disciples. From this, it was clear how competitive it was, let alone to enter the extreme martial sect. Extreme martial sect has really harsh conditions. Can I even become a true disciple? Chen Xiang muttered. Sure, you have yin and yang divine veins, and being personally taught by us two sisters, as long as you work hard, in the future you will definitely become strong enough to even reign over an entire region. Bai Yao said resolutely and decisively, as she was very confident in Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang waited for a while, before Hu Yuyan returned. This time, she wore a purple robe and skirt, not like before, as she was now looming with temptation, which made Chen Xiang feel somewhat disappointed. These are the things that she wanted along with the leftover spirit coins. Hu Yuyan placed the spirit coins and some herbs wrapped in paper on the table. Chen Xiang didn't bother checking and directly received them inside a storage pouch, thus showing his trust in Hu Yuyan, which made Hu Yuyan secretly happy in her heart. Have you registered to participate in King City's martial arts tournament? This southern martial empire is under the jurisdiction of the true martial sect forces. Hu Yuyan asked because she was obviously concerned about Chen Xiang. After some thinking, Chen Xiang said, I will participate, but I'm not going to join the true martial sect. I'm just participating for the true elemental den. Looking at Chen Xiang leaving, Hu Yuyan shook her head and lightly sighed. Disappointment was evident in her pretty eyes. Previously, she was able to make this kind of callow teenager submit to her with just a few words. However, now, not only did she talk a lot, she was also rather enticing while she spoke. Yet, in the end, she still wasn't able to persuade Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang sold the 1,000-year blood spirit grass for 400,000 spirit coins, and then with 100,000 spirit coins, purchased a lot of mature spirit herbs. Among these spirit herbs, the most precious of all was the metal spirit fruit seed. TLN, here in the end I translated as seed, but the actual translation would be fruit nuclei. While basically seed, metal spirit fruit was a high-grade profound level spirit fruit, and was as precious as 1,000 vein fruit. Reportedly, it would only appear once every 1,000 years. Whether it was the pulp or the peel, they were of great usage, especially in refining high-grade dans. Adding some of it during the refining could allow an increase of the quality of the dans, and also increasing the chance of congealing the dans. Chen Xiang had just purchased a metal spirit fruit seed, and it would be used for planting a metal spirit tree. The seed was also used in alchemy, but no one had ever thought of growing a tree from it, because it needed an exceedingly long time to grow. Even if someone were to grow one, they'd still have to wait 1,000 years, before the tree would bear a fruit for the first time. But this wasn't the same for Chen Xiang. These days, he had accumulated a lot of dragon saliva. Continually irrigating the seed with it, he would be able to produce the metal spirit fruit quickly. Chen Xiang was in the small courtyard. He planted the seed, before he took out a jade bottle filled with the dragon saliva. Now he needed to nurture the seed, so there was no need to dilute the dragon saliva with water. He just had to directly drip it on the metal spirit fruit seed inside the soil. Just as he poured a drop, a large amount of spirit ki suddenly surged and permeated into the soil. Immediately after, a small bud grew out. After seeing that it was this effective, Chen Xiang continued dripping the dragon saliva on the soil. With each drop, a large amount of spirit ki violently surged deep into the ground, leading into the metal spirit fruit seed inside. The dragon saliva itself contained an abundant life force, and now, it would allow the small tree to absorb a large amount of spirit ki, which would accelerate its growth. Chen Xiang now understood why Su Meiyao had always repeatedly urged him not to reveal anything about the dragon saliva exercise. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome. It was only now that he deeply felt the formability of this heaven-defying divine exercise. His heart grew more and more excited. Give him some time, and even growing a 10,000-year-old spirit herb would be like taking a walk in the park. After exhausting a bottle of the dragon saliva, the metal spirit fruit seed had grown into a human-sized small tree. This was only in half a day worth of time. Ugh, there's still no fruit. Chen Xiang complained as he was somewhat dissatisfied. Humph, you should be content. If it was under normal circumstances, it would have taken at least 500 years to grow into this size. You will need to collect at least 1 more month worth of dragon saliva to allow this tree to bear fruit. As long as it bore a fruit, Chen Xiang would be able to grow several metal spirit fruits. At that time he would announce this to the entire nation, recruiting alchemists, with metal spirit fruit as a reward. With such an easy task, it might even lead to a dogfight between the alchemists. Brat, you should now start collecting herbs for refining a building foundation. Dan, you have yin and yang divine veins and cultivate divine exercises, so entering into the true martial realm is not a problem, but if you want it to be fast and stable, this Dan is a must. Bai Yao said. Building foundation Dan, a low-grade profound level Dan, mainly used for stable foundation and enhancing the body. It also increased the purity of true ki, and if taken before entering the true martial realm, advancing would be much easier. Chen Xiang, while curling his lips, said, I can only refine middle-grade mortal level Dan, but profound level Dan. Yeah, even when I'm at the peak of mortal martial realm, I'm afraid I still wouldn't have the ability to refine it. Ignorant little devil, as long as you're able to refine a high-grade spirit level Dan, you'll be able to refine the building foundation Dan. Only because the herbs of the building foundation Dan are very rare, it is categorized as a profound level Dan. But the difficulty of refining it isn't all that great. Humph, Bai Yao said coldly. Chen Xiang now had the 1,000-vein fruit and also a 1,000-year beast Dan. With these 3 rare spirit herbs, refining the building foundation Dan was possible. Because he practiced dragon saliva exercise, as long as he had a seed, he could infinitely grow the spirit herbs. At that time, he could have as many building foundation Dan as he wanted. Buying the seeds wouldn't be an issue, since the building foundation Dan could be sold for many spirit coins. Thinking of this point, Chen Xiang was extremely excited. Of course, presently he had to elevate his strength. With stronger strength, came also an increase in the ripening of the dragon saliva. Moreover, refining high-grade Dans required stronger flames. At night, Chen Xiang disguised himself and left King City. He went to a distant mountain forest, with relatively dense true ki, which would allow him to speed up his cultivation. Chen Xiang closed his eyes, and with the help of his yin and yang divine veins, he sensed the rich spirit ki within a radius of tens of li. When he operated the Tai Chi divine exercise, the spirit ki immediately surged into his body. Chen Xiang then refined them into 5-element true ki, compressing and storing them in the 5 locations inside his danshin. Before dawn, Chen Xiang had already woken up. Cultivating in a place with rich spirit ki, not only would it allow him to cultivate more true ki, it would also help him in gathering more dragon saliva. This was also one of the reasons he came to these outskirts. Chen Xiang was as energetic as a dragon and as fierce as a tiger. Suddenly, in the middle of the forest, he started boxing. In this dim forest, crisscrossing green and red light constantly flashed, transforming into tiger hands, striking out at the empty air, while bursting out roars. Each of his fists emitted fierce winds, while the soil on the ground was curled up like the waves of the sea. Intermittent sounds bursted out as his fists struck the trees, while dismembering the trees, which could be encircled by 2 people. In the process, this was the high-grade spirit-level martial skill Heavenly Tiger Storm Killing Fist. Chen Xiang had the divine exercise of 4 symbols, but presently he could only learn some of the common martial techniques. Although its power was good, it was still insufficient. Only if one was familiar in casting martial techniques would it be useful during a battle. By now, Chen Xiang was able to smoothly perform the Heavenly Tiger Storm Killing Fist. He now felt pleasure in releasing the vigorous true ki from his body, while casting the martial techniques. As he struck out, his vigorous true ki transformed into a formidable and ingenious power, which also made him feel more comfortable. Many trees broke as his punches landed on them. One by one, blasting them off from the ground and forming many pits. Chen Xiang sighed as he thought he was only at the 6th level of the mortal martial realm and had this level of strength. An ordinary person, in his eyes, were already similar to ants, as even for someone at the same level, it would be difficult for them to resist his violent heavenly tiger storm killing fist. If I enter into the true martial realm, how powerful will I be? When Chen Xiang thought about this, his mind couldn't help but surge with an inexplicable excitement. He had a very strong desire for more and more power, which boosted his morale.